The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to Cherry Picking, Cherries fans, and thank you for joining us for this very, very special show. Now, it wouldn't be cherry picking if I didn't have my main man next to me, Mr. Matthew Harrison. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all good, Craig, apart from a bit of a cough and a cold, but then again, that's what you expect at this time of year. But yeah, all good. All good. Probably feeling a little bit better than this man here at the minute, but yeah, all good.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Well, I tell you what, let's give a shout out to our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, should we find out what's happening on Cherry Picking this week, Matt?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, what is on Cherry Picking this week? So, of course, as normal, our weekly game, Guess the Cherry, is back. We say, don't look back in anger. Of course, we have to mention our victory against Manchester City, which has put a big smile on my face all week. We were also talking about Mark Travers or Kepa. Who should be between the sticks, I should say. Behind the sticks? Between the sticks.
He'd be much good behind, would he?
No, he wouldn't be. No, neither of them would. Although Mark Travers will come back to it. You know, a fantastic save right at the end.
Yes.
We also discuss a transfer rumour. Liverpool and Richard Hughes have come sniffing. They can leave us alone, please. We're going to find out how you're getting on, Matt, with the Foodie Footballer. Of course, if anybody's been living under a rock, that main man there is Marc Pugh. We're also going to take a look at AFC Bournemouth's new app as well. So we're going to discuss that. So there's lots to look forward to in this episode of Cherry Picking. But I tell you what, let's start with the Manchester City win. And
Are we?
finally...
Are we?
Yes. Yeah. How did you guess? How did you guess?
Well, I'm starting with this. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Anyhow.
Yes, Cherry. Yeah, I've got a bit too excited, Matt. That's the problem. I've got a bit too excited. And, I wanted to... Yeah, it's like Man City.
There's a
Go
term
on.
for that. There's a term for that. Well, I can't say that on here. Anyway,
Yeah.
right. Guess the Cherry. So this week, born in Denmark in 1976, he wrote to every professional English club asking for a trial. Mel Machin gave him one. Scored the last goal at the Old Dean Court before it was demolished. Left the Cherries and played for Bradford and Coventry, amongst others. Returned to Bournemouth for a loan spell and made 10 appearances for the Faroe Islands.
Who is he? Well, leave the answers in the comments. If you're watching this for the first time, don't have a look at the comments for that purpose. And we will reveal all at the end of the show. So there we go. Get your thinking caps on. And yes, there's no prizes, but, at the end of the day, personal pride. Let's say that. But I'll tell you what, let's discuss now. Of course, Nathan Ake didn't have a very good day, but we most certainly did, didn't we, Matt?
Yeah, we certainly did.
There we are. Don't look back in anger. And yeah, of course, Oasis song, great song. But yeah, and let's say Noel didn't really enjoy this game, did he? But we, were smiling ear to ear. So let's get back into it. AFC Bournemouth 2, Manchester City 1. It gets sweeter every time I say that, don't it? You?
Yeah. It was well deserved.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you still there?
I am still here. I still am still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
there we are. There we are. I was just reveling in the victory. Sorry. So here we go. Bournemouth stunned Manchester City as goals from Antoine Semenyo, that main man again, and Evan Nilsson gave them their first victory over the Premier League champions. The result ended City's 32-game unbeaten run in the competition, a record stretching back to the 6th of December 2023. It is also a second defeat in 4 days for Pep Guardiola's side following their midweek Carabao Cup exit at Tottenham. The Cherries, in good form after picking up 4 points from their past 2 games against Aston Villa and Arsenal, started quickly and full of positivity. Ederson was forced into a double save after just 2 minutes as he denied Semenyo and then Justin Kluivert. And we move on with the tone set. Bournemouth continued to press high, and they were rewarded in the 9th minute when Milos Kerkez's cutback from the byline was turned in by Semenyo. What a goal that was as well. We'll come back and discuss that in a bit.
Yeah. That was a great
it was. It was. It was pinpoint perfect, and that man is getting better and better and better and better and better every single game he plays for this football club. I just hope nobody is listening to this from other clubs and decides that they're going to take a punt on him, because we don't want to lose him, put nicely. City failed to muster an attempt on target during a largely frustrating first half. It wasn't for me. I was loving it. Bournemouth came out for the second period full of confidence and were close to doubling their lead in the first minute, but Ederson was sharply off his line to keep out Evan Nilsson's effort. And Evan Nilsson made sure with his next opportunity, though, sliding to meet Kerkez's low ball and nestle it into the bottom corner. And again, that's up to 3 goals now, 2 goals in the last 3 games. The confidence should now be flowing, hopefully.
Yeah, goals breed confidence.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. The hosts should have made it 3 moments later, but Adam Smith, presented with an open goal, blazed over the bar after Marcus Tavernier's shot came back off the post. City finally registered an attempt on target in the 80th minute, albeit a tame one, with Erling Haaland struggling to get any power on his volley. And 2 minutes later, Josko Gardable headed beyond a despairing Mark Travers to offer hope, but the Premier League champions were unable to grab an equaliser. Deep into additional time, Haaland thought he had snatched a point, but his close-range shot was saved on the line before his rebound struck the post. The defeat means City slipped to second after Liverpool came from behind to beat Brighton, while Bournemouth climbed up to 8th. So, of course, go for it. Milos Kerkez, excellent performance, but you've got the room, Matt. Tell us how impressed you were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely impressed, to be honest. I mean, I know we obviously give all the plaudits to the goal scorers, and I know we've given a lot of plaudits to the likes of Lewis Cook and Christie this season, but I mean, Kerkez is always a player that I think normally plays well anyway, but I just thought in this game, in terms of defensively going forward, I think it was his best performance he's had for Bournemouth. I think his pace and his defensive qualities, he had the better of City, to be honest. I mean, 2 assists in the game as well. For both of the goals. So that also says something. I mean, just for me, I just thought he. I mean, we'll discuss several other players very shortly, which will include Kerkez. But I think out of all the games I've seen Kerkez play, just personally for me, in terms of going forward defensively, that was for me definitely his best game I've seen him play.
Yeah, and I echo absolutely everything you've said. His moves forwards, his defensiveness, his defense was brilliant. How he was, managing those players, when they were coming forwards. He showed exactly why he is so highly rated. There's been times, and I'm sure, Milos would probably forgive me for this, where he might not have looked up to that level, but he certainly looked up to that level against Manchester City, and probably beyond where I expected him to be at this point.
Definitely, what I would describe as possibly a big game player.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
I know Kyle Walker didn't have the greatest game. He was very poor, and obviously a little bit later on we're here. We'll discuss what Pep said briefly on Kyle Walker, but even so, that for me doesn't really take anything away from Kerkez's performance. Obviously, I know they were on the same flank. So, I don't want anything to be taken away from Kerkez's performance with, the quality of Kyle Walker on the day. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely superb, and he's an international for Hungary, and I thought during the Euros he was pretty decent. The games I've seen him play for Hungary, I think each time I've watched him play, I think he's a decent player at international level as well. But I just thought he took his game to another level against City.
Yeah. I can't add anything more, and to be honest, I can't take anything away, because I think he showed he was the real deal, and he is a big game player. He's got so much talent in his locker. It was an all-round performance, and how he set up the goals, I think But again, excellent, excellent player. Really caused City hassle. And made sure that it was a difficult afternoon for them. So yeah, I was very, very, very impressed by him.
But we'll come back to him a little bit later when we look at some of the other players, from the game, and also for some unwanted transfer speculation. But we'll leave that to a bit later on. But overall, I thought there was 4 key men in terms of beating City. Semenyo, again, he's not doing us any favours, is he, by playing this well? Because obviously he's getting lots and lots of attention, but it's brilliant to see, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kerkez, we just briefly discussed. I thought even Nilsson's movement off the ball again was fantastic. His positioning is great. And, if you look at his goal, he can score many different types of goal. Look at what we saw him score against Villa the other day. He scored that great header. And, he slid in. Wasn't the most tidy of finishes, but, I mean, it's a striker's instinct to put that ball in the net. And I think we've seen 3 very different goals from him, these first 3 goals he scored. And obviously 2 in the last 2 now, isn't it? He scored 2 in a row, isn't he?
Yeah.
What was it, 3 in the last
3?
4,
Well,
5?
yeah, I think so. 5? Yeah.
So it's a bit of form now, isn't it? It's a bit of a return that you'd want as a striker.
Yeah.
So I think the confidence that's breathed through him on Saturday is great, and hopefully that will pay off against Brentford as well. Again, Lewis Cook, first half, I thought he misplaced a few passes. There was a couple of passes he misplaced, but again, he scored very, very highly in the points. I think he got something like 8 point something on on one of the I think it might be the BBC. So I think he was right up there again in the scoring. But again, just great in that midfield. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, you might think there's 4 different men that were key to beating City. I don't know.
I've got to be honest. I think the 4 that are there, but all had outstanding games. But you can't take away from Senesi. Senesi was excellent.
Yes.
How he managed it. There was one moment where he just took the ball away so simply from Erling Haaland, and he was excellent. Semenyo, I can't, I could talk till I'm blue in the face about Semenyo and how much I think of that man. He's just such a good player. Such a good player. He's strong, he's pacey, but you've heard it all before. Kerkez, I think you've said everything, and I probably said, well, there's nothing else I could add, and then I did add a load of stuff to it. Evan Nilsson, again, his strength. He was strong, pacey. In the attack, he's now starting to find the back of the net. That's great. So that's really, really good. And then, of course, Lewis Cook, dependable in that centre of midfield, sits back a little bit when he needs to, goes forward, moves the ball, brings it forwards. But there's so many players that, I think I can't, there's an argument for every single player actually getting applaud it. Adam Smith, I thought, was excellent. He's probably lost his pace. I don't think he'll say that I'm being harsh on him for that, but of course, he's utilising his talents now elsewhere. Zabania, excellent. Again, it's that he's not even being mentioned really shows how far we've come. Justin Cliver, again, excellent. I think you could make an argument for every single player. And, Mark Travers at the end, when he was called upon, I know that strangely, he didn't have that much to do. and I know that sounds really stupid, but when he did get called upon, what he did so well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, you could say every one of those 11 players could deserve the man of the match, for their performance. But of course, you got to give it to one. You probably know where I'm giving it. That man on the far left, but at the same time, you couldn't argue about anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult. If you were picking the man of the match, it was a difficult pick.
Yeah.
For me, like I say, I think I've sung Kerkez's praises massively. I think I would have given it to him, but then again, you look across the whole. I mean, if you just look at the gradings, for example, every player was in the 8s, apart from 2, 3, the 3 substitutes and Travers, who, like you say, didn't have much to do, but when he did, he pulled it out of the bag. And they were in the 7s, but every other player, starting 11 was all graded within the 8. So like Semenyo was graded 8.8, Even Ilson 8.5, Kerkez 8.4, Lewis Cook 8.2. Then it drops down into your 0.1s, like your Christie's, your Cliverts, your Zabaniers, your Taverniers. Sinese was 8.09 and Smithy was 8.06. So that just proves how strong the overall team performance was. And believe it or not, the top 4 that are on the stats there in terms of their scores are the top 4 that I've got on here. So,
I think, and of course we forgot Ryan Christie.
Yeah, Ryan Christie again.
Ryan Christie, again.
Just the intensity of all 11 players was fantastic. And I think even Pep admitted, didn't he, that, City couldn't keep up. But I mean, when the manager of Pep's quality turns around and says Bournemouth couldn't keep up with City's intensity. Now, we all know how City like to play. Okay, they had a lot of possession, but when they didn't have the ball, Bournemouth were the more creative side. And I think that says a lot for Iriola's management, Iriola's style, and this group of players, really.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think, of course, here we are. This is what Iriola said. I think it's very difficult to beat City. You have to enjoy it at least today. Tomorrow we will start thinking on Brentford, but apart from the result, I'm very, very proud of the performance. I think to beat them, I think is deservedly is even more difficult. Even if we suffered until the end because they pushed us in the last minutes, I think we deserve this one. I think against this kind of opposition, there has to be a moment where not only for your confidence, but also for them, they have to start to think that maybe they don't win today because they normally win all the time. So you have to find a moment where they can think, hey, careful. And obviously, when you score first, I think it becomes an uncomfortable game for them. And do you know what? If we compare this against, this performance against other teams that have beaten City in the past. Now, forget the Aston Villa game when Villa, I think Villa absolutely destroyed them. Around Christmas last year, which I believe is their last defeat in the Premier League.
Yeah,
that was right. The last one. If we take Wolves' win against Manchester City and Brentford's win against Manchester City, don't get me wrong, very good results, but were they as dominant as this game? I honestly 100% can say they weren't. And it's such a good position to be in as a Bournemouth fan to think, bloody hell, we've played them off the park. We've played them off the park. Yeah, they come back into it at the end. Yeah, we know that they can hurt you in snapshot moments, but City weren't poor, on the day. It was just that we were better.
In terms of possession, they were, pretty decent. But it's when they had the ball, they weren't overly, creative in front of goal. I mean, look at Haaland now. Haaland is, world class in the box, but like you've said, with Senesi's defending, Zabanier, they managed to keep him quiet, and that is a massive, massive credit to those two defenders. Because like you say, there was one time he took the ball off Haaland, like taking candy off a baby, didn't he, Senesi?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it just makes it such an all-round great performance.
And I think, just going on to that point as well, if you have that lapse in concentration against a side like Manchester City, you might get away with it against Everton. You might get away with it against Ipswich or Southampton or Leicester or whoever, but you don't against Manchester City because they're that good. They're that good. They're that talented. But there was no lapses in concentration. There was nothing, it was, City's goal, to be fair, was an excellent header, and it had to be an excellent header to actually beat Mark Travers. And that's the greatest thing. Iriola said on the points haul, I should say, I'm not going to lie, we didn't expect 7 points. Definitely, we didn't expect these points, but it's true that it's not the end of anything. We have to recover tomorrow, and next week we go to Brentford away. The way they are playing at home, it's going to be a very, very difficult game, and we have to continue to try and give us chances because it's going to be very difficult. This is the Premier League. To win one game in the Premier League against any team is very difficult. You have to do a lot of things well. So we have to continue because we need more points and we want to continue building and take advantage because we've got these points now against these teams. So let's try and take advantage and not to lose it straight away. And you know what? This kind of echoes across the whole team because I was lucky enough. Okay, yeah, don't get me wrong, it was just a fleeting conversation. Managed to see Adam Smith, and he said we just need to keep it up. That was his answer. I said, fantastic result against City, fantastic result against Arsenal. He said, yeah, but we need to carry on. We need to keep this going.
Yeah. And he's obviously the skipper now, and he's the one that's going to be breathing that confidence through the squad. So I mean, that's all they can do. I mean, it's like I was having a discussion with a couple of people after the game on Saturday evening, and it's like they were saying you don't want to go to Brentford now and lose.
Exactly.
Because you want to keep that momentum going. Now, obviously, I think I said before, out of these 3 games, if we come out with 4 points, I think that's 4 very, very good points. To come out with 7 points is fantastic. So, we want to go to Brentford. I mean, Brentford, come on, let's be realistic. We all know Brentford away is not an easy game. And I think there'll be goals in that game.
Yeah.
I do believe we can edge it and win it. But you think we come away with a draw? 8 points in those 4 games are a big 8 points.
I said before this run of games, these 3 games, I said, I'd be happy with 3 points. Now, the thing is by saying be happy with 3 points, I didn't even think that we would get those 3 points. I thought that our haul that would probably be 1 point. We could have, let's be honest, in the past, we've lost all 3 games. We've lost all 3 games. But such is the intensity, the style, how Iriola's got the team playing, the harmony of that squad, that we've got 7 points from a run of games, which includes Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Manchester City. And this isn't an Aston Villa that's managed by Steven Gerrard anymore. This is a Champions League Aston Villa.
Well, at the time they were top of the Champions League, I believe, weren't they?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So
You know, and if it wasn't for a certain Tyrone Mings handball in the ball last night, then
Oh,
or
he
the
was
night before,
harsh.
they
He was
might have got
harsh.
another point at Bruges. But yeah, I mean, three very, very good sides. Three sides that have got quality across the field in every area. You know, even a depleted City side is still a class side. So to pick up 7 points is a fantastic, fantastic achievement. But do you want to see
See,
what Pep said?
yeah, let's go for it. To be honest though, I don't buy into this depleted Arsenal, depleted City, and an Aston Villa that's on a bit of a wobble. You know, these sides have still got so much talent that
Absolutely. Yeah.
I, I know that um, I watched a lot of Arsenal coverage afterwards. And there's a lot more Arsenal coverage than there is Manchester City, and a lot of the talk was, oh, they've let themselves down. Saliba getting sent off changed the game. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. We was just better that day. Against Aston Villa, that was always going to be a tricky game. We got a point at Villa, and then to beat Man City is, something else. But Pep's reaction say, "Oh, we couldn't match up to the intensity." Do you know what? I like Pep because he is actually bloody honest. He is
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, all the situations with the long balls, we couldn't win it. I don't think it was as many long balls as you remember, Pep, but I just think we just controlled it. And when you don't win these types of balls to Semenyo and others, he's already mentioned
Oh, there was
Semenyo.
that one ball, that long ball where he kept it in on the bar line just by the dugout, Semenyo.
Yeah,
Oh, what a touch.
it was. Yeah.
Naughty.
Hopefully, Pep's not getting ideas.
Naughty.
Our central defenders and strikers have to defend deeper. We struggled to make our game, but especially for that. In the game, for many reasons, they were higher than us. We have players with rhythm, and the other players have a lack of rhythm because they could not train due to injuries. No, I don't buy it. You've got a bigger squad than anybody, Pep, and you've also spent loads of money, but we knew it. Pep on Walker's poor performance. Carl, his last game was with the national team to reach 100 games, and since then, could not train one session. Well, the thing is my argument there is that you drop him and bring somebody else in. 19 days he didn't train with us until yesterday. Yesterday he did 6 minutes. It's what it is. Accept it. He's honest about the intensity. I agree with him about the intensity. Okay, I'm probably being a bit biased. Carl Walker, you have got a big enough squad that you take Carl Walker out if he's not being able to train and you put somebody else in. You have got a talented bench, the bench, to bring on the players that they can, you know, and let's be fair, they are game changers. They are game changers, those players. Is a luxury that 90% of the Premier League can only dream of. But even though he made those changes to try and change the game, as he would do, he couldn't do it because we were that much better. We were too good for them on the day. Um, don't get me wrong, they have got a squad which is probably a lot more talented than ours, but at the same time, um, it was just an outstanding performance.
I mean, he also said in another article after the game that Ake and the defender that scored for him, good player number 24, forget his name, they both playing through the pain barrier apparently. And he obviously rested quite a few names against Tottenham, knowing full well he was going to need to have his top players to play the game against Bournemouth, because obviously with the high press and the high intensity that we play at. So yeah, I don't, I agree with where you're coming from in terms of the depleted side thing.
Yeah,
I do think we've probably played City at the perfect time because
yeah.
they've had a real knock of run of results at the moment, haven't they? And I mean, what is the problem there? they've been knocked out by Spurs in
Mm.
what big clubs call the Mickey Mouse Cup, unless they win it, in which case then it's an important cup. But I don't think any cup should be looked at like that. So the League Cup, they've been knocked out of. Okay, they're in the Champions League. They've still got the FA Cup. They've got the league. So, they still could win, plenty of trophies. They're then beaten by us. And then this week, they've been hammered 4-1 by Sporting Lisbon. So, what is the problem there? Is it all the games that they're playing when you include the internationals? Is it the injuries? Or is it a case of that, winning 4 league titles in a row must take its toll on any squad? Is this the
Yeah.
season where that cycle's broken? I think it possibly well could be.
I think they've set the bar so high. Going back to the 90s, you used to see the likes of Manchester United when they would go on a little bit of a spell where they were at their best, and then they would drop down a little bit, and then they pick it back up, and then and there was that element to them.
There's always a break in their cycle there at United, wasn't there? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
no one's ever won the Premier League 4 times in a row, have they? Is it 4 times they've
no,
won?
4 times in a row now. Yeah, this would be
So
the 5th time.
it's got to take a toll on. I'm not saying they're going to end up without a trophy this season, but are they going to end up with the league? It's one of those. I mean,
Mm.
that now they're going into an international break. Obviously, they might get some players back fit again that don't go out on international duty, or it might even hamper them even more if they get a couple of injuries while players are on international duty. I think if they were to lose Haaland to an injury for quite a long time, they're going to be in big, big trouble, I think.
Yeah, completely agree on that. Yeah, completely agree. I think they have been at the top of their game for so long. It will take its toll, like you say. To be honest, I just see this as a mini slump. I don't think it is much of a slump at all, really. I think it's just a spell that all teams will go through, and they just need to pick it up. Of course, the Champions League has been extended to some extent, so Pep, if he turns around and says, "Oh, it's because we played too many games," well, as champions of England, you are playing in an extended now Champions League where you're playing 2 more games than you would have done last season. So, um, yeah, part of me, I don't buy, what they've got such a big squad, they've got so much talent that um it's just that we was better on the day. Spurs, they probably dropped, like you say, dropped quite a few players, to give some of the fringe players a chance. Spurs aren't a bad team. They're no mugs. As a Sporting Lisbon, have always had talent coming through. So yeah, it's I think that they'll probably be back to winning ways pretty soon. I think they'll be back to winning ways pretty soon.
But I think the last question to ask on this is this the Cherries' greatest Premier League win?
Yeah, I think this surpasses the Arsenal game. The Arsenal game was special. It was good. But they were down to 10 men. I think Arsenal are probably going through more of a slump than Man City are. Any City side that comes out are going to be strong. They're always going to be strong because of the amount of money they've spent, the amount of resources, the man that's in the dugout as well. Arteta's a good manager, but Guardiola's won bloody everything. So yeah, without a shadow of doubt, this is the best Premier League win by far. Is it the most important win that we've ever had in our history? No, most definitely not. That Grimsby game was the most important. You could say, winning that Forest game, to get promoted back into the Premier League. That's going to be up there above this game in terms of how important it is. At the end of a season, if we was near the drop zone, and it was between us and Everton, and we won that game to stay up, you could say that that's up there. This is a great win, but you see where I'm coming from, don't you? This is a win.
Yeah. It's in terms of a game of importance. Yeah, I get your point. For me, it's up there. It's up there. But I mean, I'm a big fan of all our decent Premier League wins. Beating Liverpool, 3-4, 4-3. Sorry. Beating Man United at Old Trafford 3-0, where we virtually embarrassed them. This is really up there with those kind of results for me. It's always find it hard to pick, like my favorite win. I like to talk about my favorite wins. So this will always be one of my favorites, definitely, and it is way up there. Greatest Premier League win, I would say it's probably going to be seen as our greatest Premier League win because of obviously the opponent that we beat on the day. So yeah, I think all in all, it was a great day, a great performance, wasn't it?
Most definitely.
Like we say, every player, did their best on the day, turned up on the day, and has now got a great result under their belt. So great day. I did have a good feeling though in the morning. I did have a good feeling, and when I left, and I thought, we can do them today. We can do them. This is the time to play them, was my main trailer thought at the time. Obviously, with certain players not being available for them, but that doesn't take any shine off the win. So, yeah, great.
Well, I tell you what, let's talk about somebody else who had an outstanding game, and of course, there's a bit of a battle going on now, isn't there?
Yes.
And this is the battle of the two goalkeepers. So, of course, on the left-hand side, you have got Kepa Arrizabalaga, and then on the right-hand side, you've got Mark Travers. So let's get stuck into this. So Super Mark Travers in goal. So Premier League stats, of course, a lot less stats. Of course, more appearances in a Bournemouth shirt in the Premier League because he's played every single one of his Premier League appearances in a Bournemouth shirt. But 22 appearances, 5 clean sheets, 72 saves, penalties saved 0, punches 10, high claims 8, catches 0. Interestingly, sweeper clearances, throwouts, round figure on 100, and goal kicks 188. And there's his career stats there as well. Let's have a little look at Kepa as well. So of course, Kepa, a lot more appearances, but of course across different teams. Clean sheets 36, saves 274, 1 penalty saved, 37 punches, 53 high claims, 15 catches, sweeper clearances 47, throwouts 549. So effectively, what you're seeing there is, you would think that it would be a no-brainer that Kepa is a stronger keeper. Probably, yeah, you could say that, because of his history, his Real Madrid's spell, winning the Champions League. But I tell you what, let's have a little bit of a discussion on this. Who gets the nods between the sticks? Matt, do you want to go first? Because I know exactly what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Kepa has come in. He's obviously been brought in to be the number one. That's why he signed on loan. You don't sign a player of his caliber to come from one club on the bench, or not even getting on the bench, to come to a club like us and just be on the bench again. I don't know what kind of loan deal he's got, whether he's got actual minutes in the contract where he has to play if he's fit.
Yeah.
In which case, this is a debate that's not, really a debate.
Yeah,
But when you
exactly.
look at it in terms of actual performance, and this is what we're going on, it's a term of performance. Now, Kepa, we know Iriola knows the keeper. We know that they've worked together, at Bilbao in terms of training. Obviously, Kepa was only a youngster at the time and trained with the first team every now and then. So we know that they know each other through, their history. We know that obviously Iriola likes a keeper that can use his feet. Now, Kepa can use his feet, which I think is the strength he's probably got over Travs, is his footwork. When you look at Travs' last performance, especially the Villa performance, and when you look at Kepa's performances, now Kepa has pulled off some blinding saves. In fairness to him, I remember Liverpool, he pulled off a couple of decent saves there, and there's been games where he has pulled off decent saves. I just think the confidence that I've seen in Marc Travers in the last couple of games makes him my number one at the minute, because he's had such a great performance in the last two games that if I don't know when Kepa's fit again, could I drop him for Kepa? And you know what? I don't think I can. Like I've said about Marc Travers before on these cherry pickings over the seasons gone by, I've always said that Marc Travers is a fantastic keeper. I've always said that. I've never always, I haven't always said that he's number one ready. I've always said that he's going to be that keeper. He needs loan spells. He needs game time. But I think now this could be the time that Marc Travers becomes Bournemouth's first choice. Again, we don't know really on the loan deal with Kepa. If the loan deal means he's got to play, if he's fit, Travs will go back to the bench. But this is a very, very promising sign for the future.
Yeah.
That when Kepa's loan deal does finish, whatever happens with Neto or whatever, I think now he will be Bournemouth's number one.
I think we should, and of course, like you say, it depends whether or not there's minutes in the loan deal. And I don't like these ones that are dictated by minutes. I reckon that, because two Premier League clubs, I don't think it'd be dictated by that. But who knows? Who knows? Would Chelsea have done that to Real Madrid? We'll never know. But I personally think that I would be more comfortable with Travers in goal. I think his positioning is good. I think his shot stopping is good. He's quick to react. How he reacted to Erling Haaland, top draw. Top draw. Kepa, of course, against Arsenal, had that shaky moment and then completely made up for it, with an outstanding save. I would go with Marc Travers, and I've personally, I've wanted Marc Travers to have his chance for so long. I've been singing his praises. I thought that he should have got the nod over Neto beforehand. I feel that he was completely wasted at Stoke, and then of course we brought him back. And I think Travers, is an excellent shot stopper. Yeah. I think his confidence was probably knocked by that hammering by Liverpool all that time ago. But I think he's got over that. And I think, actually, that's probably helped him. That's probably helped him. With us getting a battering like that and that being in the back of his mind. But I think his position is just excellent. I think he's a solid all-round goalkeeper, and therefore I would say Travers all day long. He might not be as good with his feet, but at the same time, we're talking about keeping the ball out of the back of the net. And if Kepa does something silly, You know, don't get me wrong, he's a good shot stopper as well. I think we've improved, you know, by letting Neto go to Arsenal. I think, you know, we've got a better goalkeeper in than we let go out. You know, no disrespect to Neto. I personally think that, you know, Travers should be number one. And I agree. It's great for the future. Now, what happens? And this is a big, big question. Here's a big question for you, Matt. So we get to the end of this season. Neto leaves the football club. Kepa, you know, goes back to Chelsea. Do we, you know, sign a goalkeeper who knows that they're going to play second fiddle to Mark Travers? Because I think it's going to be very, very difficult to get the talent, you know, that sort of talent of Kepa, of Neto, somebody like that to play second fiddle to Travers. That's the biggest. It's that balancing act which concerns me. Is Will Dennis ready?
You've got to
Is
look
he
closer
ready?
to home. And, you know, I think someone like Will Dennis, who had a fantastic season at Kilmarnock
Yeah,
last year, ideally, again, is probably a player that should go out and get some more loan time after Christmas, in my
yeah,
opinion, in the January window. Because, you know, I think he's got potential. Has he got potential to be a number one at this level? Is questionable. But for me, we've also got Alex Poulsen. So, you know,
yeah.
we haven't invested in him and loaned him straight out again for no reason. So I think it might be a case that the goalkeeping department might be okay.
Without Neto and without Kepa.
Well, why would you invest in a youngster like Alex Poulsen? You know,
Yeah,
if he has a good season with Auckland, and he's still playing at international level, you've got two international goalkeepers.
but the other question and the other spin side of that is, would Travers really want to be in number two to Alex Paulson? You know, if he
Well, I'm not
comes,
saying no, that's not what I'm
yeah,
saying. What I'm saying is then you've got two keepers. You've got one who's got Premier League experience, who would be your number one, but then you're going to have a hell of a decent keeper behind him, pushing him.
yeah, yeah,
So would
completely.
it be a case that we would have to invest in the transfer market in a goalkeeper, knowing full well you've got a keeper who's played now in the Premier League? You know, he's played 22 times, whatever it is. So he has played a certain number of games, and Poulsen comes in as a decent keeper in behind him to push him. Chances are the club will probably go into the transfer market, but you know, when you look at what we've already got, I think Neto's got a year left on his deal, isn't he? After he comes
Yeah,
back,
I think so.
so
Yeah,
that would be, you know, it's an interesting one there. It might be a case that he comes back and plays second fiddle to Travs.
yeah,
You know, he's playing second fiddle at Arsenal this season, so it might be a case that he comes back here, and it could be a case of them two competing, and someone like Poulsen goes out on loan again. You know, I can't see Kepa making a permanent move here. I think his wages will probably be way too high, because obviously he's had to sign a new deal and take a pay cut, so Chelsea don't lose money on him and the transfer fee anyway to come
yeah.
here. So that says a lot if he had to take a pay cut to come here. Because even then, I doubt Bournemouth are covering all his wages.
No,
Possibly might be, I don't know. But yeah, it's just an interesting one. You know, for me, you know, I've just been so impressed with Mark. We've obviously brought Kepa in for a reason. And I don't think,
yeah,
you know, and obviously the way agents negotiate these deals, you know, it won't be necessarily Chelsea negotiating the deal with in terms of the minutes. It'd be the agent for the player.
yeah,
The Real Madrid situation was different because I'm sure the agent got a good cut of the money for him to go out there. But in terms of coming to Bournemouth, I think it's a case of him to play.
yeah,
And I think that's probably the agent's view in terms of looking after his player as his client. You know, if I was his agent, I'd be saying you only want to go to Bournemouth if you're going to be getting minutes.
yeah,
So interesting one at the moment. Like I say, for me, I think Mark has been superb. Mark would be my number one if I was able to choose between the two.
hmm,
But I've been impressed with Kepa as well. Yeah, he's bit like Neto. I think he's got a he's always got a bit of a blip in him, hasn't he? But
Yeah.
I think we're both settling on. Mark Travers there, aren't we? To be
Yeah,
fair.
I think so. Well, I tell you what, let's have a look at Richard Hughes has been eyeing up a player, hasn't he, of ours?
Sniffing. He's been sniffing
Yeah.
around.
So we'll touch upon this briefly. So Hughes and Liverpool are said to be monitoring Cherries start, and a £40 million price tag has been set. And that player is Milos Kerkez. According to the Paisley Gates, one player who's failed to impress for Arnslot's team, despite the impressive performance of the side as a whole, is Andy Robertson. The Scottish international does not look at home in the Dutch coach's tactical setup. Against Brighton, Slot made the decision to bench Robertson in favour of Kostas Timikas. The Greece 20 international was one of the best players on the pitch, and his performance against the Seagulls should hold him in good stead going forwards. As per Team Talk, Liverpool are likely to make a bid to try and sign Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth next summer. The 20-year-old defender provided 2 assists in the Cherries' surprising win over Pep Guardiola's defending champions Manchester City last night. Kerkez has caught the eye with his performances in the Premier League. He has established himself as one of the best young talents in the top flight, and it is only a matter of time before he earns a move to a big club. Andy Robertson is a world-class player and should be able to turn the rut around. The Scottish international has been an excellent servant for the club, and it must be kept in mind when planning for the future. That said, bringing in Kerkez would be an incredible move for Liverpool. It would be a good thing to plan for the future, and Liverpool are strong on that. Let's wait to see how it plays out. Yeah. And Court Offside have also said the same as well. According to Team Talk, Liverpool are interested in the Bournemouth left back, Milos Kerkez, as they set to prepare to replace Andy Robertson. The Reds are off to a flying start this season and currently only 1 point behind the league leaders, Manchester City. In the Champions League, they have managed to win all of their matches so far this season, showing that life under the new manager Arne Slot is looking encouraging, and they can challenge for the biggest honours this season. The Dutch manager is concerned about the future of a number of his players at Anfield, with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk all in the final year of their contract. Slot also needs to make reinforcements to his squad in key positions, and one of them is the left-back position, where Robertson has struggled this season, as seen in the match against Arsenal recently. As per the report, the Premier League giants view Kerkez as a long-term replacement of Scottish left-back Robertson, who is now 30 years old and his best years are behind him. Bournemouth believe that the talented left-back is now in his final season at the club, and his move to a big club in England is going to materialise next year. The Reds are expected to launch a bid for the defender next year, and it appears that they are currently leading the race to sign the young defender. Milos Kerkez would be open to a move to Liverpool. The player is keen to move away from Bournemouth. Who said that? And Liverpool present an ideal opportunity for him to take his career to the next level. Liverpool face competition from rivals Manchester United signed the player, who are looking to find cover for injury-prone duo Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia. Slot's team would be the outstanding favourites to sign the 20-year-old defender. The Liverpool manager's comments recently have indicated that he does not prefer to start the Scottish left-back anymore, and Kostas Timikas has been given the nod over Robertson recently. Along with Robertson, his full-back partner, Trent Alexander-Arnold, could leave the club. Who was that written by at Team Talk? That was or Caught Offside or whoever. I tell you what, at no point has Milos Kerkez turned around and said, I want to leave Bournemouth. There might have been that speculation, but the media are so good at spinning rubbish like this.
Yeah.
And I personally think, could it be Kerkez's agent? Yeah, most possible. But at the same time, you know, we hold all the cards at this point in time. Now, are those cards going to be taken away from us? Who knows? But it's obvious that Kerkez is enjoying the football under Areola.
I got a real trail of thought on this.
Go on.
Obviously, I've just bigged him up, and I like the player.
Mm.
He's aggressive. You know, he's got pace. He's got skill about him. Good defensively. You know, everything we've said about Kerkez tonight has been, you know, great, and he is a great player. I really like him. 20 years old, and since 2020, he's on his 5th club. He's even had the likes of Paolo Maldini tempt him to go to AC Milan, and he only spent the season there. I think he's the type of player that goes where the opportunity is.
Yeah.
If an opportunity to go to, you know, it's, you know, when you're in the same division as them, you know, but they are a massive club. You know, Liverpool playing Champions League football season, you know, every season. You know, he's got Premier League experience. He's played for Bournemouth in the Premier League, you know, the best league in the world. Liverpool come knocking, I can see him pushing the move.
But does he need stability? That's the thing.
He's the type of player that would move. 100%. 100%. I think, I mean, and can you blame him?
No, not really to Liverpool.
I mean, if Bournemouth get Europe this year, which obviously, when you look at our current position, isn't out of the question, but is it realistic? That is what you've got to question. And it's, you know, it's looking possible at the minute. You know, if we were to get a European place, that might be different, but I still can't see it even then. I think if a club like Liverpool come knocking for his services, I think he is. I think he will move on to benefit his career, to push his career forward. And as an international footballer like him, you know, you've seen it time and time again. You know, players want to play at the highest level for the biggest clubs, and you know, I'd hate to see him go. You know, and like you say, paper talk and press and all that, they like to stir things. Let's hope it is that. But I mean, United have been sniffing as well. I mean, I saw something a little while ago about United and monitoring him.
Yeah.
You know, when you start getting, you know, it's like Semenyo, you know, a few cherry pickings ago, you know, obviously we were talking about the Spurs link, and there was a few other clubs, wasn't there? Liverpool again.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got someone like Richard Hughes there, who was, you know, part of bringing Kerkez to Bournemouth, you can see why it's linked as well. I just can see that being a possibility.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But the one that worries me, well, I say worries me, would be very disappointing, is this that's been in the press.
Yeah, this is disappointing because, you know, he's a great player to have captured. So Bournemouth man's agents considering exit after slow start, move to big club could go through. There was a big sense of expectation around Dean Huijsen when the defender arrived at Bournemouth from Juventus in the summer. The centre-back played regularly for the Cherries early on in the campaign, but has only had 1 minute of Premier League football in the last 5 games. There has already been talk of a premature exit, and that possibility is now picking up. Milan News have reported there's unhappiness in those close to the player about his situation at Bournemouth. Because of that, his entourage is considering an early exit to progress his development, which they feel has been stifled at the Cherries. A return to Italy is a possibility, and that could be an escape route for Huijsen, who is attracting interest from Milan. The feeling is that Huijsen's profile suits the Rossoneri's recruitment model, and the Italian giants could execute an initial loan deal with an option to buy. It isn't known whether a deal like that would suit Bournemouth or not, but the outlet mentions that it could go through in January. I honestly, I agree with you that this would be really, really disappointing. However,
You can
how can you
see where
drop
it's coming
Senesi?
from.
Yeah, how can you
Yeah.
drop Senesi or Sabania?
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem. And this is a great headache to have as a manager, because you've got such a good group of players, but the ones that are starting to performing so well, and then you've got a youngster that has come in who's got so much potential now. Jose from El Cockerel TV. He said to me a few weeks back that Dean Huijsen that you've got is something else.
Yeah,
he's Spanish, and he knows that he's playing for the Spanish under-21s, and he's seen him play, and he said he is a hell of a player. Now, for someone who supports another club to say that to you, it does really kind of open your eyes. He's played at Juventus. He's had a decent season on loan at Roma.
Yeah.
Come to play in the Premier League, and he's not playing. Now, yeah, this is such a difficult one, because you've got to see it from the player's perspective, but also from the club's perspective as well. Now, for me, like you say, how do you drop the two that we're playing?
You
Just
can't.
How?
Yeah, you can't.
But is this a case where you go, right, let's find you a loan move. Let's get you out on loan for the remainder of the season, get game time to keep the player happy, but also to keep the player on our books, most importantly. Unless we're going to make mega money on him, in which case business is business. But for me, I think when you look into the future, he's someone that I would definitely want to keep in my squad. But
he's not a player, though, like James Hill, who's happy to wait for his chance and will get his chance and will grow at this football club and will go.
No disrespect to James Hill. Huijsen's the international.
Yeah, no, very true.
But James Hill is that type of player every manager wants, someone that they know they can depend on, but is happy to be a bit part player. Well, he's not happy to be a bit part player, but he knows his role in the team. He knows that he'll get game time at certain games.
Yeah,
and he's developing himself as a player to try and earn his first team place.
Yeah,
someone with the aspirations and the people that he's got round him, in terms of probably family, agents, and things like that, is a whole different. I don't think it's two scenarios that you can really compare.
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense.
Of course.
But wouldn't it make more sense to you? We know we've got James Hill, who's dependable. Can we afford to loan this guy out? Can we loan him out, get him game time?
Yeah.
And keep him as part of the club at the long term, rather than losing him, or they cash in if they get a good enough deal for him and make money on him. I mean, it's a difficult one for the likes of Simon Francis to probably have to deal with.
Yeah, completely agree. I thought he would actually step into where Senesi was and play alongside Sabania, but you can't drop Senesi. There's no way. He's been outstanding this season.
Yeah, and when you get a partnership like those two, they now know each other. And that's important when you got a centre-back pairing like that at the level that they're playing at. It's so important that, you know each other.
Yeah.
You know each other's strengths, weaknesses. Your communication is strong because you're playing with each other every week. That's why, your back line is always, for me, has always been you know, like years ago. I mean, we go back to Bournemouth years ago. You know, I could always probably turn up on a Saturday and name the back line. It'd be Neil Young, be Ian Cox, be Eddie Howe, and it'd be Jamie Vincent. That was your strong back line. Yeah. And the only way those four names wouldn't be on the team sheet is if one of them was injured.
Well, exactly.
You know, and when you've got a back four like that, now we obviously, I know sometimes obviously you've got Kerkez there, but I know on the right hand side, obviously switches a bit every now and then. But those two in the centre, for me, you know, are vital. So it's a great headache to have as a manager. But when the player's getting itchy feet because he wants to play, it becomes a difficult situation, especially with a quality player like him. I mean, when I first saw him play in pre-season, I thought the kid was immense.
Oh yeah, he's a quality player.
Yeah,
it's a horrible situation to have because, you know, do we play the other option? Do we play with back three at times? But then where does Kerkez fit in? It's a balancing act, isn't it?
But then could Kerkez play as a win back? More than likely. But then again, you've got a forward line that you don't want to change. You don't want to change your Semenyo. You don't want to change your Cliver. You don't want to change your Tavernier to make room to change the formation.
We're in a bloody good position.
I just hope we can do something for the player, to keep the player at the club. That's my trailer thought. Let's look at it long term, but I can understand the kiddie's frustration. You know, he's been playing, you know, top Italian league football, you know, for a big club like Roma, comes to Bournemouth, great league that we're playing in, and he's not getting a sniff. So you got to understand it from his point of view. And I just say, let's loan him out. Let's get him some game time and kick on from there. Let's not lose the player.
No, agree. Well, I tell you what, let's move on to something else as well. Of course, you've been working with the Foodie Footballer, of course, Marc Pugh. Go on, tell us a little bit more about how it's been going.
Yeah, it's I'm just looking up now. It's because I've got an app. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on there. It's a little, you can't really see it, can you?
No.
But yeah, I've got an app. I'm just double checking. So I started on 88.9 kg, and I'm now currently sat on 85 kg.
Excellent.
Now my weight's been fluctuated because I'm doing a lot of weights in the gym, but I've also on a very strict diet. So I've lost in fat. I've lost half a stone.
Yeah.
But I've also put pounds on in muscle mass, which has been good. So yeah, I mean, what I'll do for next time is I'll get some of the photos, and you can see where I was and where I am when I check in on Sunday this week. I will get some photos, and you can see the difference over the weeks. Because as you well know, I had a very distinguished beer belly, which is now slowly disappearing. But yeah, I mean, the good thing about it as well is that obviously, you know, you get motivational messages from Mark just like spontaneously. And normally he's quite good, actually. When he sends me a message, he normally catches me in the gym, and then I'll say, "Oh, I'm just in the gym, Mark." And he's like, "Oh, you're never out of that gym." Let me see if I can get one for you to hear. Don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
Hi, buddy. Hope you're keeping well. Thank you for the check-in. You are looking absolutely brilliant. The bloating has really gone down. You're really starting to see definition within your body now as well. And yeah, absolutely buzzing with that, mate. Really, really consistent with everything. I've tried giving you a call. I know it's Sunday, so there's absolutely no rush to get back.
I was in the gym.
Free today. Feel free to give me a buzz. I'm available all afternoon. I'm just chilling out watching the football. But yeah, mate, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And yeah, stay consistent. We'll speak about progressing your gym sessions at some point. We'll jump on a call. We'll see how you're feeling. And yeah, we'll really kick on, mate. But have a great day. And well done on getting another gym session in. Loving life, mate. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
So you get little messages from him and videos and that, and
Yeah,
new training methods and bits and pieces like that. So I think I've got another, I think it's over an 18-week period. So I must have at least another 16 weeks or something. No, 12 weeks, something like that to go. So, but yeah, I'll update next time with some pictures.
happy days, happy days. Keep it up, mate. Keep it up. And Mark, he's a good bloke, isn't he? He's always been,
Lovely.
he's smashing guy. Of course, we'll touch on one thing very, very briefly, because there is the official AFC Bournemouth app.
And this is very brief, Craig.
Yeah, go on.
That's
It's
come
not
out from
launched.
the club. We were hoping to have this downloaded to actually look through it and discuss this very quickly tonight. But unfortunately, AFC Bournemouth on Facebook, the club app is going through an approval stage with the app stores, which has provided a minor delay for some users. We will advise when it is live and in the store. So unfortunately, we were unable to download it.
Yeah.
So it looks like we'll be talking about this potentially next week.
There we are.
That's
there we are.
yeah,
That's
just come out from AFC Bournemouth since we've been filming this. So yeah,
fair enough.
didn't go to plan.
Well, I think that is probably all we've got time for this week. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you again, Matt. No doubt we'll do this next week. It's been another great cherry picking.
There's actually a special cherry picking next week.
Yes, it is. Keep your eyes peeled for it.
Yeah, obviously it's with the international theme, which we've done before, and be joined by Johnny Blair again to look at a Wales Bournemouth team, Wales internationals, which is going to be interesting, especially when we get to the goalkeepers. But that's enough said.
Definitely. But just to end on as well, of course, here we go. Of course, we have got Remembrance Sunday as well. So they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. And it's quite a poignant message, of course, whilst there is a lot of global conflicts going on. So we do remember them, and hopefully, looking for a better future for everyone.